Okay, I think pre-setup is correct. Adjust things. Hello, fellow Sublime Text Fanatics. OdatNurd here for this February 24th live stream. And I'm going to go ahead and do that thing I do where I pause the live stream so I don't confuse myself because it's got a little bit of a delay. And then I say that what we're going to be working on tonight is some items in HyperHelp. And specifically, if I gave the correct window focus, we could see I need to work on a problem, quote unquote, that is from my to-do help, my HyperHelp to-do list, which is this one here. Something I noticed that I was going to need, and now that HyperHelp is actually a dependency, we need to handle it, which is keeping our list of indexes up to date as packages are installed and removed. And if we have time after that, because I'm not sure how long all of that action will take, we'll go back to the to-do list and pick out some other things. I was thinking that we might work on some contexts, perhaps. There are some I wanted to add to make some of the features that are planned for the help authoring tools easier to do. But before we do that, let me go ahead and press this button right here. And of course, I'd like to thank everybody for watching this, either when it's happening live or in the archives after everything is done, because I know the time that I have free to do these live streams doesn't necessarily jive with everybody's schedules. And just as a reminder, I do have this channel and one other channel, both in the linked in the description below, with other videos that you can subscribe to. And remember to please thumb the videos if you like them, or thumb them down if you don't. I need to know if I'm doing stuff that people find interesting. And that's probably all I got to say about that, except for that whole thing. I always forget to say that if you have any questions while the live stream is happening, go ahead and drop into the chat and leave them. If you're watching this after the fact and you have a question about something, leave it in the comments section below. At any point, you can also just ask a question here in the comments section or on Twitter at OdatNurd to if you need me to explain something that I maybe blew past while I was talking or cover a particular topic. I'm always looking for stuff to be chitter-chattering about here in the live streams. I don't think I made my browser windows big enough. In any case, we are ready to rock and roll. And as we can see, the first thing we have here is update sandbox settings. Now that we have set up a package repository file for our custom packages, we should update our sandbox template settings to include that URL. And as a matter of fact, before we cover that, let's just go ahead and sort of recap, if you will, what it was that we did last week in the live stream. I'm just trying to find an appropriate, whoa, I got too many tabs open here. Excuse me. I think that sort of slipped through us a little bit. The desktop audio is turned down quite low. And I think I have this magic link for that. So boop, we'll bring this window over here. And getting new followers. I recorded some bugs that were that I noticed and reported. So hopefully in the next dev build that'll be fixed. This is a bug in package control, quote unquote. That seems to only affect Linux. In any case, I think what we are looking for is, well, let's go here first. This is the Snappy package, the help system that uses the help indexes that use our HyperHelp thing. We were working on this a little bit, and this has been sort of cleaned up somewhat. added a README in here that's better than the one that used to be in setup. Not pull issue templates. So if you need to log an issue, you can record a bug or a new feature. And if you actually did that, there are also contribution guidelines and how to get support for the package. So that's something I did in this package and also in the next two that we're going to be looking at. And of course, this dependencies.json file was added to say that we need HyperHelp core. And for the time being, no matter what version of Windows you are on, no matter what version of Sublime, or sorry, no matter what operating system you're on, no matter what version of Sublime you're running, go ahead and depend on that because we haven't really nailed down what the actual version requirements for this thing are yet. And this is telling me that this file contains tabs because there ain't no way that I would have done something like that. I would have preferred it to look something like that, but this is still a work in progressy type of thing. Um, The other package is the HyperHelp Author, which are the authoring tools. And again, that has just the slightest bit of README. Actually, I kind of already had a README, and I didn't really add anything in there because there's nothing much to say because it's very, very bare bones, but it does have the same issue template set up, and it does have the same horribly indented dependencies.json file. Now, if we remember, the magic of this file is it tells package control when it installs this package that we need to have this dependency installed in order for our package to work. And then package control goes out and installs the dependency. And the dependency, of course, is HyperHelp Core, which is this one here. And again, it has a little bit of a README in it now to point at the two packages that are currently using it. It has issue templates. It has those support contribution files, blah, blah, blah. This package has a Sublime dependency in it, which is actually constrained by the get attributes file. This is something that you only need locally inside of this package if you have extracted it via git. And then if you recall, you can use in this command palette, you can use package controls install local dependency to set the dependency up the way that it should be set up. And the HyperHelp, this is the name of the package that will be installed in the packages folder. Inside it, it has this directory all to make sure that nothing that's contained inside is automatically loaded by Sublime if it's a plugin file. And HyperHelp Core is actually the module, and everything is actually pulling out of that. And as you can see, the last time I modified this particular code was a week ago. When this all happened and things were fully tweaked up. Now, this is all tied together by this unreleased packages.json file thusly. And just for my own edification, I'm going to go ahead and do that right now just to get a raw URL for this, although I don't know that I technically needed to do that. Now, what's the magic of this? This is a file that you can give to package control to tell package control that, excuse me, to tell package control about extra packages. Now, there's one of these, of course, that's part of the package control website. That's the official channel. Everyone that installs package control automatically has package control pointing at that channel. To get your package into that channel, you need to submit a pull request in the repository for the package control channel, and volunteers and automated tasks make sure that everything looks kosher. You're not replicating a package or doing something that may make other people unhappy before you're added to the ecosystem. These packages not set up that way yet. There's a lot more work that has to happen in the core and to some degree in Snappy because not all the help is there before at least those two could be released, and quite a bit of work to happen in HyperHelp Author, which is currently the most bare bones of the tools, easily creating files and linting, just so making things a little bit easier. And of course, we also have this dependencies file here. Now here in the dependencies entry, we have the dependency load order. So if you use package control to install this dependency, this is how that happens. This is how it knows what load order it needs. Otherwise, you would do it locally with that Sublime dependency file. So with all of this said, the first item in the list is, if I do thus, whoops, though I pushed a key I did not mean to press. Thank you. I meant to press that one. I have a script that I use called st3 deploy sandbox, which I believe probably have seen me use on more than one occasion, which essentially untars a copy of Sublime Text that I have stashed in a local directory, and I have a large quantity of them. I might, in fact, have all of them that have ever been released. I can't remember if I ever updated that or not. And that has some core settings. Now, the idea, of course, of the sandbox is that it has absolutely no packages installed by default except for package control, just to save a step. And anytime I'm working on something where I want to make sure it works in core Sublime, or if I'm helping someone on the forum with a problem that may require some assistance, and I want to make sure that some package that I'm using hasn't modified things, I pull up a sandbox. When I was looking into those bug reports that I just mentioned there about the sidebar VCS tags not necessarily always working correctly in the latest build, I would pull out sandboxes for previous versions. So we need to modify that thing to include this repository file that we just created so that all of my sandboxes can, by default, automatically be able to install these packages. And why we want to do that is going to be important in just a moment. Oops, there's somebody in the forum is... Oh, yeah. There's a question someone had about their latex code being automatically folded. Um, and we were helping people out, and other people are chiming in now. So that's good. We like to help people on the forum. Okay, distractions aplenty. Now, let's just show how this works. So we can see, do I have one in here? I do. I have a 3190. So let's say I wanted to, well, let's do 3177, let's say. Sublime Text 3, 3176 is the current stable release. Let's say I wanted the first dev build after that to work with. I could say st3 deploy sandbox. I'm going to run that script, and I want 3177. I don't know if there's actually a build like this. Let's see. Okay, there's no bundled version like that. How about 78? And we see it extracting the tarball into this directory. And then I also have a second zip file that extracts inside of that the Sublime Text 3 data directory that sets up my default settings, and it installs package control. It puts my license in there so that if I'm running a dev build, I don't have to stop and find my license key and drop it in. And these are the package control files here. So I could, for example, just automatically go into what build did we just create there? 3178. I could go into Sublime Text 3 3178. Now, this is perhaps not well known, but it's obvious not explicitly mentioned, so it's not explicitly supported. But all of the versions of Sublime Text are based off of the same code base and just compiled for Windows, Mac OS, or Linux. On Windows, when you download Sublime Text, you can download a quote unquote portable version, which is a zip file instead of an installer, and it creates a folder alongside the binary named data, and inside of that data folder there is the packages folder and the local folder and the installed packages folder. And the Sublime binary automatically knows when it sees that folder that it should use that as its data directory instead of the one that would normally be in your home directory. And because that happens on Windows, it also happens on Linux. If you create the data directory, it'll even work on Mac OS, although in that case, you have to create the data directory inside of the um, app file contents blah blah. There's a bunch of folder structure inside an app because it has to be exactly in line with the actual binary, and it is case sensitive on Linux, not so much so on Windows and Mac OS, I don't think, unless you have your Mac OS set to a case sensitive file system. But nevertheless, now this, of course, as I mentioned, I can now run this. Now, I can't do it whilst my current version of Sublime is running. This is my current build, Sublime 3190, because if you try to run Sublime when there's a copy already running, it talks to the existing copy over dbus and tells it to it tells it what command to take. So if I quit that Sublime first and run the one in this directory, you'll see the window that pops up is not the restored session of the thing that we just were looking at a second ago. It is completely different. And we could even say, oh, actually, I guess I could say perhaps preferences settings and zoop that out, and we can see the minimum of settings, the font I use, the font size I use. I like to know when my highlighted tabs are modified, or I like to know when my modified tabs are modified, so I like the highlight, and I turn update check to false, because if you're running an old version, that gets old quickly. Another thing that gets old quickly is that the use tabs as spaces isn't turned on by default, and that causes me problems here and there. But that's not something to worry about here per se. But what we do care about here is if we were to say preferences, package settings, for package control, settings user. I already have one custom repository in here for my own stuff, but what I want to do is add this second one like so. And what that's going to do is, and maybe I'll just zoom this up and create this so we can see. Well, actually, I guess I'd have to turn on debugging, wouldn't I? So we'll see. If I say install package, it's not going to give us an error there or anything like that, so that's good. Now, this is a new build, so it has to download that JSON file, which is quite big. Otherwise, it caches it. And if I search for Snappy, we can see we can view Sublime Text 3 API documentation directly from within Sublime. That's not something that is particularly new by any stretch of the imagination. That is something that we worked on in the last stream. But what we do need to do is re-update the zip file to have that particular package control.sublime settings in it instead of the other one. And to be perfectly honest, I'm not 100% sure. I know if I go to my local bin directory and I can look at this, we can see the data file is in the bundle directory. Oh, and it's a tarball. Okay, it's not a zip file at all. So if that's the case, temp bob cd work. Oh, I was working on stuff in here, wasn't I? I installed OSIN audio because I was doing some data stuff. And package. Can I not remove? I can't remove all those, can I? No, I can't. That'll do. And let's see, if I was to tar xvf, just so we can see, local bin sublime text. These are all the builds that I have here, and here's my st3 sandbox data, like so. Now I could then, cheap this whole operation up and copy from temp bob sublime text 33178 data packages user package control.sublime settings into data packages user package control.sublime settings, like thus, and then tar creating a file named st3 sandbox data. Ooh, spell it correctly. And point it at the data directory like so. It creates that, and then I can move the sandbox data back to local bin sublime text. And now, just as a way to verify that what we're doing works, we will 3178 is the one we just installed. As a matter of fact, just for doubly testing, we'll st3 deploy sandbox for build 3180, let's say. And it's doing that. It's created that. Now I can say / Sublime Text 3 3180 Sublime Text. We get that. And if I say install package, like so, again, it has to pull down that big file. There's Snappy in there. So that is job one done. Now I'm going to quit that and just bring this up right away, right now. Whoops. Wait for plugins to load before we do that. And we can move on. That's the first one. The next thing is this. Now, familiarize ourselves with the help index loader, or refamiliarize, I should say, because it's been a little bit of time since I originally worked on this. But before we discuss what the purpose of those things is all about, here is the problem that we're going to try to solve. Let's say we're running Sublime Text, it's all full screen. We're sad that it's using the default scheme and not the adaptive theme, because we really don't like the default theme in that light gray, but it does remind us that we're using a sandboxed copy, so that's always good. Plus, it's the default setting in case that mattered when anybody asked a question. And we decided that we wanted to install a package, and the package that we wanted to install was this Snappy package that we had heard so much about. So we typed Snappy and we installed it. Now, one thing, of course, is it says it was successfully installed and it bootstrapped HyperHelp in. We don't have a messages.json in there to let people know about this package, but that can come later. That's just a messages.json file tells tells package control how and when to display messages to you to let you know when packages have been installed or updated. Now, with that in play, if I was to browse available help, we can see the HyperHelp system documentation is available because it's part of the HyperHelp package that was just bootstrapped. And then the Sublime API build and color scheme documentation are all coming from the Snappy package. And we can actually see some action happening here. And we can see what happened when we said we wanted to install this package. Okay, so package control updated the list of ignored packages to include Snappy. That's so that it can modify that package without Sublime loading files from it in the back, while it's fiddling with it. And that is saved to disk, which requires that to reload. The package control Sublime settings reload because there's a setting in there called in process packages. As a matter of fact, I might be able to even whip that out here if I said package control Sublime settings in my user folder. You can see the in process packages. Before it starts installing a package, it puts it into that item. And once it's finished installing it, it removes it out of there and adds it to installed packages. That is so that if something happens while the system if the system restarts while it's installing the package, it knows it was trying to do that install and it'll continue doing it. Okay. Now, after it installed the package, it noticed that the HyperHelp core dependency is not currently installed, so it installs it. It's been successfully installed or updated. Now it's added Snappy back, or removed Snappy, I should say, from the list of in-process packages. And once it does that and saves the setting because it's added to installed packages, the settings file reloads. Then we can see the updated package, ignored packages is updated back to vintage. So Snappy has been removed. And that causes the Snappy plugin to load. When it does that, it calls the initialize. The initialize notices that HyperHelp is the system package is missing, so it bootstraps it by ignoring HyperHelp for the same reason that package control does the same thing, which causes the preferences file here to change. To be perfectly honest, I'm not 100% sure why this is changing in this case, unless package control is doing something behind the scenes. I'm not sure. Once we're done, we remove it. And these messages happen out of line with that one, as a matter of fact, which because the bootstrapping happens in a thread in the background. But we're bootstrapping the file packages, HyperHelp core, all this content into HyperHelp installed package. Once that's done, it's unignored, as we can see there. All of these things are reloaded. As soon as it reloads, it immediately looked for these because we asked it for available help, and those are the help indexes it found. So that's the whole process that happened here, and now everything is great, right? Because I can use the help key, which apparently I said is a default key, which may or may not actually be an issue, but again, there's still a lot of work to be done here. Maybe I want to look at an application command or go back and say, actually, I was looking at an edit or something like that. And then I decide I want to edit my own help files. And I remember that someone said that there was a HyperHelp author package as well. So let's see what happens when we do that. So let's install a package now, and now we'll install HyperHelp author like so. And we can see a subset of the steps that we noticed before happening in there. Um, this time the dependency already existed, so it didn't have to do anything. But yeah, it ignored the package. Excuse me, right there. Then after it was done, it unignored it. It loaded all of the things, and now life's good, right? So let's go ahead and look at the help for HyperHelp author. Oh, it doesn't appear here. It doesn't appear here because there's not currently anything to look for new help. It just sort of assumes that help is help. But that's no problem because we can actually, I mean, with the authoring tools, we could, in a roundabout way, get it to rescan all the indexes. But if someone didn't have the authoring tools, say, they could restart Sublime. Now we'll see that because this help file is open, an API method is called that immediately requires it to load the help indexes, which finds all of the help indexes. And now the help for HyperHelp author is totally available. And we could, look at it, although it's very sparse and says, hey, there's help. There's actually a little bit more help than it sees here. It's just not linked in because I hadn't decided yet exactly how this whole system was going to work. But now let's say we have a problem and we don't want to, well, we'll close that help. And we want to disable a package. And the package we want to disable is HyperHelp author, let's say. Because we don't want to use it right now. So we can see the the list of ignored packages was updated to include HyperHelp author, which made Sublime automatically unload all of the plugins, and settings files got reloaded, which I think just means that for the author and the linter, I think here reloaded means dropped. I'm not entirely sure. And the settings were updated because that ignored packages was committed. So now HyperHelp author isn't installed anymore. And surely if we looked in tools or here, or even in the HyperHelp, we can see it's just that. If we browse available help, let's see what's going to happen. Well, it still says HyperHelp authoring tools, but we disabled that package. And I'm pretty sure this is going to blow up. To be honest, I've never tried this. Yeah. Because help in files for help and indexes for help are loaded via a call to load resource, which would pull it out of the zip file. But the load resource call requires the package to actually exist. Failing that, the code actually falls back to looking in the local packages directory to see if it can still find it, which is something that was added for the authoring tools use because there are sometimes edge cases between creating a new resource file and being able to detect it within the same command or the next command. So it still thinks that help file is there, but there's nothing it can do to load it. So what we're going to do, and this was all a very roundabout way to cleverly kill 30 minutes of time and explain exactly what we're doing here. think I can maybe close that for the time being, um, is this. First of all, we're going to need to familiarize ourselves with the help index loader. And again, that should say re-familiarize, not familiarize. I typed that wrong, and I'm very sad about it. Because it has been a little while. Now, originally, HyperHelp was written to assume that every physical package could have at most one index file in it, and that index was the help for that particular file or that particular package. Now, with the advent of Snappy, that quickly became not a good idea. Now, if I was to edit this help index for the API information, and we'll boop it up into this one so we can see it a little better, there's meta information at the top that says that this package is, consider it the Sublime API package, which is not really what this, logically, this is a quote unquote Sublime API package, but physically this file is stored in the Snappy thing package. And so there's a document root that says where exactly to find that based on the package location and whatnot. And if we actually minimized that and minimized that, we could see that the API directory is just all the help files for the API documentation plus that help index. And similarly, inside this build, these are the help files for build, and here's the build file, which has the same information in it. Now, I remember that though this change obviously works because we use this help a fair bit. I can't remember. I know that it's supposed to be able to rescan all packages or reload specific help indexes, which I believe we could actually see in play if I pushed F5 right here. We can see it reloading the help index for the package Sublime API, and then it reloads the help index from that location. What we actually need here for our stuff to do what we want is two things. Both of those that require us to familiarize ourselves with how this is currently working, because I can't remember how I implemented the ability to have multiple help indexes in one package. But the first is we need a new endpoint for unloading a logical package. That is, we should be able to say from HyperHelp core.core import discard help package and then pass it a name like Sublime API and have it say, okay, the Sublime API documentation no longer interesting, and kick it out of the in help index list. Okay, that's something that we need. And if there isn't one, maybe it displays a message to the console or something. The next thing that we need is one that loads indexes from a named physical package only. Now, I'm pretty sure we already have the ability to load or reload a logical package. This API endpoint is again something like from HyperHelp core.core import, um, scanned indexes, load indexes, one of those two things that currently exists, but maybe with an extra parameter that says only look for packages in the physical package named Snappy, or only look for packages in the physical package named user, or something along those lines. Okay, and the idea there would be when it'll find all of the help index files, but it will only try to load and reload any that exist inside that physical package. And with those two things in play, we can tie them both together with this one, which is to create a settings listener that watches for the list of ignored packages to change. And whenever a package is added to the list of ignored packages, we're going to get it to drop the help index for that particular thing because we don't care anymore. And whenever a package is removed from the list of ignored packages, then we would scan just that package for help indexes. And that would solve both of the problems that we just noticed. When you install HyperHelp, package control has to add it to the list of ignored packages. Sorry, when you install HyperHelp author, in this case, or Snappy, depending on which order you did that, if you did one and then the other. Package control adds it to the list of ignored settings, installs it, and then removes it. So in that case, As soon as it was removed, this code would say, hey, there's a package that came out, scan it for help, and it would have found the help index for HyperHelp author and loaded it up, and the help would have been immediately available. Similarly, when we disabled the package for HyperHelp author, it gets added to the list of ignored packages, and that would cause this to say, oh, it's ignored, and kick that index out so that links to that sort of thing no longer work. Now there is a little bit of extra edge case around that we need to worry about, but we're not going to worry about it here, which is what happens if the help file for a package is currently visible when you unload it. And the other thing is, you'll note when I hover over something, I get this pop-up that tells me where this actually points. Links can be inter-package, and we have the ability to actually highlight uh, links as invalid as seen here. And I'm going to zoom this one, this packet, this plugin file, and this plugin file, as we can see in the comment here, was removed in build 3189. And this says this link opens to a package file that doesn't currently exist. An intro package link would similarly say the same thing. This link links to a package that's not currently loaded. These little annotations happen at the time the help file is loaded. So realistically, whenever the list of help indexes changes, we need to reload the existing help file to bring all of this stuff up to date. So links that used to work no longer work and so on. There's a little bit of an edge case for what to do if the help file for that actual package currently exists. Do you just close the help window altogether? Do you try to step backwards through the history until you find an entry that doesn't have that? I don't know what the best way to do that actually is. So this is also going to be an interesting take on how exactly we're going to be able to work on this package now that it is a dependency, because any changes that happen in the core require the dependency to reload. I'm not 100% sure that automatic package reloader actually does anything in that case. It might. We'll see, but it might require us to quit and restart Sublime. So we'll see what happens there. Let's power up first with some, I believe this is French vanilla cream flavored coffee. Okay. I just clicked on the link in the forum, a person that said the org mode package is the problem. He linked to an actual issue raised on December 7th that points that particular issue out. This is what the great thing is about helping people in the forum. Being able to, you know, someone somewhere had the specific information that the org mode package, when it loads, it folds in unrelated files. Someone knew that, and due to conversations that we were having in that, it drew attention from people that know actually how to fix that particular problem. The same thing happened recently when someone was unhappy or saying that their path was wrong when they did a build because the debug output in the build panel just said $path where you would expect the path to be. But it just so happens one of the bugs I logged recently relating to build systems while I was adding the external diff support for override audit was knowing that that debug information gets captured before the variable gets expanded. So the path is probably right. It just doesn't look right. Okay, now I think I got a bunch of files here open that I do not need, but I did actually change this file somehow, huh? So let's see what I did. Okay, I must have just added a space and then trimmed it out. So that's good. So again, if we look at the thing, our first item in the list is familiarize ourselves with the help index loader. Now I think help index list. Oh crap. There we go. Help index list is the, I'm gonna hide the sidebar for the time being so we have enough room here. You can see this is actually responsible for doing a lot of this stuff. There's a couple of internal things here that can be used. You can see reload help index is sort of one. Reload the help index for the provided package from within the given help list. If package name is provided, the help list is no package is provided, the help list is ignored. Attempts to reload a package that's not in the given help list has no effect. So this isn't going to do what we want here. Um, but this is sort of the stuff I was thinking of here, where we call scan help packages, which actually is called here too, and it's actually doing it's responsible for a lot of this action, and I believe even here, um, oh, this is loading help indexes specifically from an index file. Okay. So we probably want to look at scan help packages to see what this is doing. Now, this is a function, and this is one of those, I don't know, quote unquote tricks, things you can do in Python. This is an instance of a function, but it can still have attributes attached to it. So the attribute is named index. If you call this function and it doesn't have that attribute, it assumes it's loading the packages for the first time and finds every single one. This returns a dictionary. It's added to index. And then here we know if we were told to reload and this isn't the initial load, then it should call reload help index, which is that thing there, with the package that was provided, which might be none, and then return the list, because that's calling this function is actually supposed to give you the list of things. So you can call this, it'll automatically load the packages lazily, give them to you, which is why we saw that happening here in the console. This doesn't happen until, in our case, um, this didn't happen the first time in that sandbox thing until I said browse available help, and it had to load the indexes for all the help. Once you have a help file open like we do here, then these tend to automatically load because of the way the package needs to go into here and update these links. Uh, to make sure that everything still points at something. That requires it to get the help index list so that it knows if links to other packages are for packages that don't exist anymore. So it implicitly automatically loads those things. Um, let's say the one thing, of course, we want is something I'm going to say very similar to this. Now, this function is sort of magic in that it tries to augment a help list that you originally gave it. And here, help list really means it's a dictionary where the keys are the name of the packet, help package, and the values are the loaded help index type action. There's a little bit of extra stuff in here to handle this sort of thing. Um, to be sure, I'm not what the best way to handle this is. Um, okay, there's this bit here we have to handle too. Generally, the idea is this: every package is supposed to have a single hyperhelp.json help index in it, right? That makes sense. That's how it was originally conceived, and that's in a perfect world. So it's always possible that someone creates a package that has more than one. What do you do in that case? You got to pick one of them. Secondarily, now that Snappy has help from multiple packages, we finally got around to implementing the functionality that allows multiple help indexes to appear inside the same physical package, but their help index has to have that package field that says what package they're actually for. That works well until someone duplicates those accidentally or otherwise. The other important part about this is, what if you want to provide help for a package that isn't providing its own help yet, but that changes in the future? So, for example, let's say the override audit package someone wants to take the version of the web documentation and convert it into HyperHelp help so that the help for override audit is available directly from within Sublime. Let's say that person is not me, even though it is. They could, even though someone else, i.e., me, made the override audit package, it's now conceivably possible for someone to just create a package that says this is the help for override audit by having a help index inside their own package that says that the package this is for is override audit. So one of the things that you need to worry about here, along with what happens if there are two indexes for the same package, is what if there are two indexes for the same package but in different physical packages? How do we determine? And the answer to that is the stuff that happens here. And what this really boils down to is this: if there are two indexes that have been loaded that are both claimed to be for the same package, then the one that is physically inside that package is the canonical one, which we see here, and that's the one that gets used, and the other one just gets discarded. So in our override audit case, what that means is someone out there decides they want to create help for override audit. They write the help, they do whatever, they create the help index. The help index says, even though this is in a package named help extensions for cool packages.sublime package, the package manifest for the help file says that this is for the override audit package. That works great right up until I decide to get off my lazy butt and create my own override audit documentation. When that update happens, this automatically makes the system say, okay, well, in that case, we're going to use the canonical package instead of the other one. Now, if I imagine correctly, I think there might, I can't remember if I implemented it. There either is a setting or there could be a setting to let you know which index you should use for any given one. So maybe we check into that and see. And that would probably be in the settings for HyperHelp, if I had to guess. No, I guess not. I'm hearing a weird high-pitched whine, but it doesn't seem to be coming in the mic, at least as far as I can tell. Yeah, see that it's a thing where I can't remember. It was something I was thinking about. Let's look up HH setting. Oh, yeah, that one. And then if we needed to look at what the default, no, I guess I didn't. I had this notion that what we could do is create a setting that would allow you to say what you want to use for any given one. Maybe I didn't implement it. Maybe I'm just not looking correctly at the code. Is canonical package index. That is the index loader, I would imagine. Yeah. Saw that action happening. Resolving index. See if which one is which. The canon of both is identical. If neither is canon, always use the most recently loaded one. Oh, that's right. I came up with a better way. Yeah, okay. I remember now, I think. If there are two indexes and none of them seem to be canonical, then the one that is last in the package load order is the one that's used, because that sort of falls in line with how package resources would load automatically. And if neither of them are canon, then it just refuses and, kicks things out. I think it might have been a to-do item to actually be able to configure that in some sense. So what we want is something that is capable of doing this. Also, based on the fact that it should augment an existing help item if need be. This just needs to have maybe a name or a list of a local package so that the list of indexes here are filtered based on that. Because if we look here, This is a very simple mechanism. It uses find resources to find all of the help index files. And as a matter of fact, we could even splunk that out here. So you can see HyperHelp has an index, Author has an index, Snappy has 1, 2, 3 indexes, and there's one in my user package as well. And then this has to find the ones that are actually loaded, for which it gets the list of all of the information from previously loaded ones from the help list, which could be empty or could be something. And here, as we can see, this only finds index files that aren't ones that have been previously loaded, because there's a different call for that. Where you don't scan to reload, you scan to find new is what you do. So I think our fix, despite the fact that we spent a lot of time talking about what to do, is actually fairly simplistic, say. Now, the first thing I believe I mentioned in there is, okay, so we've familiarized ourselves with that. A new API endpoint for unloading a logical package. So here's what we could do. We could say from HyperHelp core.core import help index list. That's the function that we were just looking at. Now, if we said indexes is equal to help index list, we'll see that we immediately get a result. And if I said indexes.keys, those are all of the packages. And I could even, if I wanted to, do that just to make it look like a standard list. So these are the packages that currently exist in here, in this indexy type thing, this list of indexes. Now, I'm imagining that the scanner here, this is the part where we need to maybe be careful. If I did, whoops, browse available help, and okay, we need to do that for just a second. There is HyperHelp. Okay, let's say we wanted to boot the user help out. Okay, so what could we do here? We could maybe say del help index list user, because that should remove that key. So it has to be careful to make sure that it's actually there before it does it, one assumes. Otherwise, things might go horribly awry. And now if I browse available help, got to do that. The user help is indeed gone. So that's handy. Now, where was the one that I just came from? Where is this? We want to look back in the core. Don't do that. Line 48. We'll go over back to here. I guess we're probably in the general vicinity. I don't think scan help files is actually something that we exposed, is it? No, it's not. Okay, that's not too terrible. Excuse me while I scratch my ear. Let's look again at what this is, because here's my theory. That one. This is what all of the code should use to get the help index list. If you don't have a help index, it uses scan help packages with an empty element, right? Which if we were to look over here, when it's none, help list is a new dictionary. Otherwise, it's the dictionary that was provided. And then we maybe reload and we go away. Now, if you were to call reload, now if this means if you called help index list reload equals true, for example, then initial load would be false. This already has the attribute because it's been loaded before. Or if it hasn't been loaded before, then there is no reload that happens because this scan did the whole reload, right? And then it would say if it's reload, this wasn't the initial load. This dictionary is please reload that help index for that package, when this is actually this thing down here, which tweaks up the inner results of that thing to remove the old one from the list or reload or what have you. And then the new index is returned. So it is presumed that we're trying to keep this table together, but you shouldn't really, cache the value. You could try. We don't have an explicit guarantee on the API that will never change, but we also don't guarantee that it won't. So I think, if we look, we want the remove here, right? Okay. Now here, def unload help index, and say what would we provide here? We're going to give it a package, I guess. And we're going to say you have to provide it a specific package. We could even say that this is a string or list. Let's say that. Whoa. That way you could unload more than one if you wanted to, which is probably something that we're going to want to do when we get to the end part of this. I'm thinking ahead because I've already implemented something similar to this settings watching in the override audit package. And okay, so if we did that, that'll just work. Now notice I saved that file, nothing happens. And what happens if I do this? Yeah, if I reload, not a hell of a lot happens there either. Okay, so the help here is actually gone, right? Yeah, so there's no way to get the user package back at this point without reloading all. Oh, actually, there's something I meant to, yeah, the HyperHelp author is in here. Reload help file, reload help index. So I couldn't remember if I had something for reload all, rescan all help packages or something. Probably something that's handy, but it wasn't anything that I needed in the short term. So this is going to say unload the help indexes for the package or list of packages that are given. If the warnings are generated to the console to indicate the status of what is being removed, if anything. The input can be a single package name or a list of package names. Now, the first thing we need to do is make sure that the help index list has actually already been loaded. And if it hasn't already been loaded, do nothing. Because what we could, of course, do is, grab the help index list here and then manipulate the value of it. But we get the help index list by calling help index list. And if we were to make an API call that says, please unload the help index for user before any other API calls have been made, then we are jerkily causing it to scan for every other package except for that one. And I guess the question is that what one wants to have happen now that I think about it? There could be some sort of weird race condition. I'm just thinking of, like, for example, this help file has a setting that tells it what package this help file is from and what the actual help is. So if this was the help file that was open in the user package and someone made the call to remove user, that's where that whole race condition thing comes in. Is it possible for us to unload a help index and then quit and restart in a way where there are no help indexes currently loaded, but some API function gets called that tries to unload that help, and it just silently says it can't, but it also didn't try to load help indexes in the interim, and as a result of that, you might say, please unload the user package. What list of help packages now exist? And in that case, if it didn't already have any help files loaded, then the unloading the user package would say, there are no packages here. And it would just go ahead and kick that out. And then you would say, what help packages are there? And it would scan all of them and it would find the one that it just removed. So let's say we don't actually do that. We'll see. We can see how this plays out for us in use, and tweak it and be sad about it later. If not is instance packages list, then packages equals packages. This is just a little idiom for if the thing that's provided is a string, make it a list of one thing, and then we don't have to. We don't have to have separate logic for what to do if you pass a string versus if you pass a list. Okay, now that we did that, that part doesn't have to be there. Now we can say indexes equals help index list for package name in packages. It's not a list comprehension. What the hell are you doing? For package name in packages, we want to say, yeah, oh, how, what, how, where. Indexes. Indexes, keys. Oh, right. You want to say Sublime build in indexes. True. Sublime builder in indexes false. Whoops, don't do that. If package name not in indexes, then oh, good gravy. We want this message. Oops. But would actually say cannot, not reload, but cannot unload. And package name. Oh, is that actually? Yeah, maybe we'll say package in packages. That makes more sense. PKG in packages would make that not be. These are the concessions I make. I wouldn't necessarily do this, but I try not to where possible. Well, actually, I'm violating that constraint right there, aren't we? And I'm using package there. So yeah, we'll go ahead. We're doing practically the exact same thing as we're doing there, so that's okay. Else, del indexes package, and we will say unloading help index for package blob. Now, does this need to return anything? I doubt it. Now, because we got the help index list directly from that call, and that value, as we can see here, is this, we're deleting that directly, so this should be safe. That dictionary won't fall out from underneath us. So that's like one part of this done. And I think in order to test it, we're going to need to do that and reload. Uh, HyperHelp core is up to date. Now we need from HyperHelp core import unload help index. And again, those indexes were automatically loaded because of API stuff that's happening there. So if I was to browse available help, I can see the user package there. And if I said unload help index my package, for example, then we get was not previously loaded, cannot unload. That also works if it was my package. If it was my user package, I mean, there's no reason why that wouldn't work, right? And if I told it an actual package, then it says it's unloading the help index for package user. And now, when I browse available help, the user help is gone. But if let's just test this help index list. So if I said help index list, it doesn't automatically find that. And I guess the reason, maybe that is actually not that much of a problem because it already had the keys. I guess we would specifically have had to say reload equals true. And that finds it again. Now remember, for our purposes here, the whole idea here is to take it out of the list when the list changes. I'm not sure if there's any facility in removing a help index in the API in the general case, because clearly you have to be careful about it coming back. And if anybody cares, we need to do something about that. So that looks like it is working. So then the next thing we might want here is in that scan over here. Now, scan help packages should, I would have thought, help index list, it doesn't do that one, it only does this one. So it only does a reload help index of all the already listed packages. Right, that's why that doesn't work. Okay, so it doesn't, if there isn't a package, it would rescan all help indexes, which I believe is probably what it said. And then it calls scan help packages like so. But when you call scan help packages with no arguments, the list is none. So I kind of would have thought that that would have found something. There, I may not have familiarized myself enough with this. Oh, it would return that list directly. And that happens here. So it would call reload help index given the existing help list and a particular package. And if the package was none, which it was when we said reload is true, then whatever this returns becomes the new thing. And the help packages that it found was that. Oh, yeah, that's right. And it did actually find that package and it brought that help back. So, okay, that does do what we expect. So if we could filter this by core package name, I think that is what we want. Now, all of these, okay, this is, again, finding all of the resources. We saw that those are those things that say, it's a list of a potentially empty list of full resources that always starts with packages slash something, packages slash something, packages slash something, blah, blah, blah. And then this one, index file, is the entry in there that actually gives you the name of the index. So if I said help index list and I asked for user and then I asked for .index file, we can see the index file for the user package is that. So that this comes up with the exact same list as that, only these are the ones that have already been loaded. And then this only reloads ones that haven't already been loaded because of the scan that it's doing. So if we removed it, this fat would find it again. And this is also a point where we could have a list, another list of packages that were explicitly removed from the index list this run, to make stuff happen. Let's assume if a person's going to remove an index, they're doing it because they know they need to or because they're about to physically stop that index from being scanned again. So if this scan help packages had another argument called, say, filter, what do we actually want to be called? So we want it to be thing equals none, and then it filters that by this information, which I think we want to do up here. Def underscore filter resources by package. And this would need to take a list of resources and it would need to take a filter like so, and then it would return a new list. And here, oh, that is a pretty indexes equals filter resources by package, and then indexes. Oh, I did that wrong twice, so fix that. And the other one is filter. Now we might just say, if not filter, return resources, like so, so that if you do this with it's none, you just get the same thing back. And I might actually want to do this by doing it this way. Instead of that. How terrible is that? Is that terrible? That's more terrible. Oh, filter is not a good name. It should actually be thing. Yeah. We'll call it name filter. What if we name this filter index? Now the only problem is if we did this. Still, that's only a couple over, so that's not too shabby. So the way this is implemented, nothing should change because the name filter defaults to none. If not name filter, return the list of resources you got, which is the list of resources that was loaded. Then it culls it by the ones that are already there, and everything is super Jim Dandy great. Filter a list of package index resources so that only indexes contained in the package named. And again, we want that to be a list. Packages named. Filter a list of package index resources so that only indexes contained in the packages named are returned. When the filter is none, the empty, okay, when the filter is empty, the entire resource list is returned untouched, and the filter can be a single package name or a list of packages. So if not name filter, do that. No, I already forgot how I did that in the core. If not is instance. Okay. If not, because if not is instance name filter list, then name filter is equal to. There's probably a cooler way to do that. Now, the idea here is if the input was none, it's going to return it. If the filter was an empty string, it's going to return it. If the filter list was a list of an empty list, then that still triggers as false because the length of a list is a Boolean when used in this case. So if it gets to here, it's only a string that's not empty, a list that's not empty, or none. And that's cool. So we turned it into a thing. Now, what we need to do. Now, here's the whole probably by using filter. Let's say we want to do it the, say the quote unquote easy way, and then let's see if we can make it smarter. I can't remember. Okay, I totally have this. Given a loaded package index, return a determination as to whether it is the canonical help for that package or not, which is determined by it being present in its own package. So this is the containing package, which split the index file name, get the first item out of it. What does os.path.split do? Split between the path and the file name, I imagine. This is how that's working. If we os.path.split this string, we end up with that. So the index is on the left. So we want the 0 part of that, right? And then we specifically, if we look at the code, split it on the slash character, the / character, like so, which gives us all of that. And in that case, the first one is the 1. Now, why do we do that? That looks way wrong because I'm on Linux and Sublime works on Windows 2. Isn't that going to break it? And the answer is no, it's not, because resources are always, as we can see here, well, you can't tell, but yeah, if you do this even on Windows, this is how they come back out of the API. Despite an open issue, despite an open issue on the Sublime issue tracker, this is what you want to see. You don't want the resources to come back in a system dependent way, because then any plugin you create automatically has to worry about what platform it's on in order to do something. Normalized is the way to go here. You can always turn this into something. Windows actually handles forward slashes in paths just fine if you actually try to open such a file, so it's not really that big a deal. But this line is the line we want, and I'm really digging this new diff functionality, although you will notice, oh, and this is actually something I was going to fiddle with. We'll digress in just a second here. Containing package is this. So how do we want to do this? Return packet, return res for res in resources if, I mean, let's write it the other way first, like I said, and then we'll see. So for, well, we'll call it for index file in resources. And filtered list is equal to, like an empty list, say. If the index file starts with packages, then do this. Oh, sorry, let's do this. Path parts is equal to path.split of the path portion of the index file split like so. And then we say, if path parts 1 is equal to packages and path parts 2 in name filter, then we want to filtered list append name, index file, excuse me. Now, is there a nice way to do that? Is this even the smart way to do this? I don't know. Normally when I do this, I do that. So that's what I'm going to do here. So create a new list. Scan over every list there. We need to split this thing split the index file in half so we can just get the directory portion, get parts of that. If this is in the packages folder and the second part is in the name filter, then append it, otherwise don't. The reason for this, Sublime.find resources empty string finds a lot of stuff. You'll notice some of these are in the cache folder and not the packages folder. Now, I understand, if I remember correctly, this particular behavior of finding resources in the cache folder isn't necessarily a planned, documented thing. Excuse me, I needed to wet my whistle there. It's not really it's not something that's documented, and if I recall correctly, Will has mentioned that there's no guarantee that that might be removed later. And Sublime is also kind of sketchy about telling you stuff in there. I can't remember the details on that, but at least one person on the Discord has been unhappy in the past. Maybe it was Tom, about things sometimes being found there and sometimes not. So this makes sure that the resource is in the packages folder and that its path is in there. Now we need to do that. Now I'm going to again quit and restart because that's the fastest way to get that part working. And I made that very unhappy. Resources. There we go. So let's quit and restart again. That one is expected. I can't remember. One of these things is not like the other. I think these are two things I had for working with upcoming features in Override Audit. And for a long time, I was running Override Audit version 2. I switched back to version 1 recently while we were working on it in the streams, and it kept causing problems. So I reworked them so that they wouldn't cause problems with that version. But now I'm back on version 2, so I've got to undo those commits, and I just haven't. But that code worked. So let's find this. Bring that in. And I think we might also want, and I don't know if this will work. I don't think it will. Oh, no. Okay. So if I said resources is equal to Sublime find resources, this thing. Okay, so that's us setting up our list of stuff. Let's look at how we could call this. And maybe I'll do a little bit of this mouse jimmy jangle to do that. So the list of resources and what we would expect. And let's turn off word wrap here. So we can see there are there's a bunch of those, right? Okay, so if we said filter index and the thing that we passed was resources. Now in this case we have to specifically pass none for the filter. We get the same list back. If we passed the string empty string, we get the same thing back. If we pass a list, we get the same thing back. Now, if this was the text user, we don't find anything. That seems like it should have picked that one out, but it didn't. Oh, balls. That should be 0 and 1, shouldn't it? I had that other code in play. Oh, that there is what we like to call the unhappy maker. Okay, let's quit it and restart it. And we're quickly coming to the realization of why we spent so much time with this not being a dependency. But, we got to do this at some point. So there's the filter index. There is our list of resources. Now, let's run all of those tests that we just did again. So if we passed it with none, we get all of the stuff. Well, we'll leave it that way for now, I guess. If we passed it an empty string, we get all of them. If we pass it a list, we get all of them. If we pass it the string user, we only get one. If it was the wrong case, that's cool. Now, technically speaking, Windows isn't case sensitive, and there's a little bit of a wibble wobble in the API in regards to this that I played around a lot with when I was working on override audit. It will not matter as much on Windows, but we're going to say it matters to us because we want the Sublime ecosystem to work for everybody. We're not going to cotton to no miscased files. You heard it here first. I probably might even refer back to this particular item when someone complains about that in the future. Okay, now if this was the string user, or sorry, the dictionary, the list user, the thing is still properly filtered. Now, if I said I wanted just snappy, whoops, I could find all of the indexes for Snappy, which is the API, the build systems, and the color scheme. And if I wanted to also find the user stuff, that of course would blow up. But if I had a little of this, then I would find the Snappy, the build, the color scheme, and the user. So that really looks like it is 100% doing what we want there. So now scan help packages takes a name filter argument. So that's nice. Now let's take a brief digression here because you'll notice if I turn on the sidebar, we can see mini diff action there, but if I turn it off, we can't. But there was one thing I wanted to check. Monakai user. I don't remember what it's called. I'll do that and then say line diff width. That's the one. These are available in dev builds only, by the way. And I should also point out that I've come up with 2-point releases for Snappy since I did that stuff last week because a couple of documentation changes have been made. Line diff width. And if I set that to, okay, it goes between 1 and 8. If I set it to 8, now I see it. Well, isn't that interesting? This, my friends, is how. Is there still something there? Yeah. Now it looks like it's not there, but it is. Not there, but it is. Now watch this, he said. Now it's there, and if I do this, it's there. And then there's a specific size that this can be. There's something very specific about the window being maximized where that doesn't happen. But I'm going to make this, say, 8, which is the maximum, so that I can see the line diff even when that's turned off. And that's actually a little too big otherwise. But I think we just found a potential bug in this thing. Excuse me. I didn't find a potential bug so much as I just figured out something that would help with that. Okay, so let's turn that off. Let me close that file. Now we can see what did we do in this file. I'm really loving this mini diff, by the way, being able to skip through exactly all the changes that were made. I implemented all of that right up to name filter there, and I made scan help packages take an optional name filter like so, that will only try to load things from this particular package. And if I came over to the core.py file, now if I remember, scan help packages is what that's calling, and scan help packages takes a help list. So what would I have called this? For unloading a logical package, nailed it. Loading index from a named physical package. Def. Now, oh, see, now maybe I already have. Let me load help file. Load help index. Given an index resource. Might add it up here. Load help indexes. Def load indexes from package, and this would be package, and we would say given a physical package name, load all help indexes that appear in that package. This implicitly loads help files, loads all help indexes if they have never been loaded before, and is intended for use in adding a newly created package to the help system. Now, this is actually also of use in the HyperHelp authoring tools, because one of the things you can do is add help to a package. It creates a new help index. There's some jiggery pokery behind the scenes that happens there. This will make it a lot easier to do. Now, what we might say here is indexes is help index list. Again, that's going to get the actual help index. Now we might actually remove this one, I would imagine. Oh. The packages provided can be a single item, a single package name, or a list of names. Okay, that's probably nicer. Now, what we might actually want to do here is say, if not packages return. Maybe generate an error there too to the console. Anything nice? Log cannot load indexes, cannot demand load package indexes, no packages provided. That's something that only someone that's a developer should see. And then we can return, so we might actually just do that. Okay, now, if there is no list of packages provided, don't do anything. Otherwise, get the help index list, and then we would say whatever help index list is using here. Again, that's still the same thing. So we would scan help packages here. Actually, we would scan help packages help index list, let's say, and provide it the name of packages. Oh, wait, what's the help list is none, name filter is none. Okay, so there we go. So we don't even need that, to be perfectly honest. This is just a nice functional wrapper around an internal helper as such. So again, help index list is going to, with those parameters, either do an initial load or give us an existing list. We're going to immediately call scan help package with that and a list of packages, which we know is non-null, which means when it gets in here, help list is not none. So help list is still the help list that was already there. All of this stuff normally happens to it. Now, are we saying help list equals new something something here? I don't think we are. If we are, we're going to be unhappy. Existing index is that, delete from the thing, help index that is return. So this is indeed doing what we want for this. It's going to just edit that list in place that it just got. So we know that, again, that it can't get changed out from under us. And restart. Those are the same problems we had before. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to not be able to do that. See, this is easier if I just remembered. Unload help index list, and load indexes from packages. So if I said browse available help, the user package is there. If I said unload help index, and the unhelp index I wanted to unload was user, then it's unloading the help index for that. And if I browse available help, I don't see the user package. Now, if I did that, it would say it wasn't previously loaded, cannot unload. So that's nice. I can't remember if we tested that one or not. Now, if I said load indexes from packages, and I provided it nothing, it'll say, oh, one positional argument packages. Oh, I have to provide a name. Ah, okay, that's good. So if I passed none, then no packages provided. If it was an empty string, no packages provided. If it was an empty list, no packages provided. If it was the string user, then it loaded the help index from there. Now what happens if I do it again? Nothing, because the code in there already knows not to reload packages that it's already loaded. Absolutely fantastic. And again, we could also say we want to drop the user help, and we want to drop the snappy help. And it would, snappy was not previously loaded, huh? Oh, that's a different name. Well, there might also be may still be a problem there. It's a bit of a mismatch between. Oh no, that's yeah. Shoot. Okay, our removal thing is maybe not doing. what we want, because load indexes from packages should load the physical package name, and the other one, unload help index, unload the help indexes for the physical package or list of packages. Okay, like so. And again, that probably what we did before was try to unload the help index for Sublime build or something, right? But we actually want this for our purposes here to work on the physical package and not on the overall loaded package list, so that we can get all those things out of there. And when the package that they're in goes away. Now, this is unload the help in. Now, maybe this API could even be enhanced further. So I'm going to do that right now. And do I have? What did I change here? This. Something that we care about there. And if we came back to this one, okay. This one works on physical package names. So what we could do is modify both of these APIs so that it works on physical or on logical, depending on how you want those two to work. We're building the API up as we find that we need it and trying to keep it orthogonal. So this definitely works on physical packages. Load indexes from package. We saw that working when I loaded Snappy up here somewhere. Oh, nope, 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 nope. When unload didn't work. Okay. Unload. Oh, that was before we restarted. Yep. Okay. Unload help index snappy didn't work, but load did. So jump down to here. Let's go ahead and paste in that. We may also want to do this now that I'm thinking about it. Skip down to here. Cannot demand unload package indexes. No packages provided. Okay, and it's quite long, a little bit longer, so that's good. Now for we need to scan over all of the indexes in the help index list. So we kind of need some of this. This one is the alternate one for if we wanted to be able to unload logical ones. So we might say indexes is equal to help index list. And then for, how do you iterate over a dictionary again? This is go over keys, I suppose. Items, there you go. For package and her package name and package info in index, well, actually, we might even just say help index list dot items. Do this. Path parts is package info dot index file. Split just to get that part, get the path parts. And yeah. Oh, actually. Can you delete from a dictionary in Python while you're iterating it? I assume so. Let's see if that worked by accident. mydict.keys returns an iterator, not a list. As pointed out in comments, convert mydict keys to a list by. Well, that's not actually what I did, is it? Or is it? I mean, oh, I was iterating over the list of packages, not iterating over this. Right. So that's probably going to blow up in my face then. Whoops, sorry, I bumped the microphone there. I wonder what the best way to pull this off would be. You know, we're going to iterate over the keys and the that's in the. We don't actually need the name. Okay, if we didn't do that. So for, let's say, package info in. Okay, let's try this. X is equal to a dictionary where there's a key of like A1 and B2. X.items gives you a dict items. X.values gives you a dict values. But if you list the X.values, now you're iterating over a list. You're not iterating over a dictionary. So that is no longer an issue. But we do need the name of this thing, which I believe should appear inside of it. But we'll find out. This is going to be exciting. Wrap that in a list. Help index list dot items. Get just the things in there. So now the path parts is, well, you know what? We don't even need. This would be package is equal to 1. Okay, so take the index files, use os.path.split to throw the file name away. We keep the path, which is first, split it by that. The first item is going to be packages / the second one is going to be the name of the package that it's in. And this is safe. We don't have to test the way we did for the other one because we know loaded package indexes already did that check. That wouldn't have loaded the index if it wasn't already there. And then we can say if package in packages, the list of packages that were provided, then we want to delete this. Realistically, this is a lot identical to that, isn't it? Except for the logic. So maybe we don't even need to do that per se. We'll just go ahead and do, okay, we didn't do that. We don't worry about that. Indexes is help index list. Oh, okay. I guess we did need to keep that, didn't we? Oh, okay. Well, let's do that then. That's just going to iterate over all the items as they appeared originally. So that's okay. If package in packages. So now we're basically doing this again, but like that. So get the list of, okay, well, that's reader from the top down. If there's not any packages, you can't demand unload package indexes. You didn't tell me what to unload, boob. If this isn't an instance of a list, turn it into a list. Get the list of help indexes and then iterate over all of them as package info, just the items, which is a named tuple that has various keys in it. Package is going to be the package that this is in, which is the first path component of the path of the index file, which is always packages slash something. If that package is in the list of packages up there, then I guess we do this. Otherwise, oh shoot, I did something wrong there. For package in packages. If package is not in the indexes, then package was not previously loaded, can't unload. Would this actually even happen? I don't think it would. If this is the list of all of the indexes that have previously been loaded, then this is the name of a package index that has been loaded. This definitely can't happen, I would imagine. So we probably just have to do that. But instead of saying package.package, which would just say snappy, snappy, snappy 3 times, we say package info.package, I think. Help index list, have I imported that? Okay. Indexes, oh, let's just say help index list user gets, no, sorry, it's a function. The help for, oh, is it currently not loaded because I was playing around? Yeah, okay. HyperHelp. That doesn't work, huh? The package name is HyperHelp. Okay, now if I did this for Snappy, I think I would find that it's blown up in my face because that's not a package it has loaded, right? So that's good. So it's something.package, package info.package. Okay, so we're going to try to unload and reload help indexes, see if we can keep track of everything we attempted to do there. That's override audit.source. So boop, boop, boo. Let's go ahead and again, unload that. So there, and here we say browse available help. There's all of the help. Now we can say unload help index from user. Oh, path is not defined? Oh, was I not doing that here before? Oh, poop. All right. I guess I just did that in the one. That's weird. Okay. Well, we're closing in on 2 hours and we're making, well, progress. There we go. So if we unload the help index for, again, let's double check everything. Nothing blows up in our face. None, can't do it. Empty string, can't do it. Even with double quotes, of course, even an empty list, can't do it. If I said user to unload the help index for user, tuple has no, what now? Are you sure that that doesn't have a, what the hell was it called over here before I did that? Okay, we're gonna have to test that out. Help index list Sublime API dot index file. Well, it certainly looks like a tuple object as a packageinfo.index file is the path to split. So what the hell happened here? Line 94. Package info in list indexes items. Okay, so let's, whoop. Indexes is equal to help index list and list indexes dot items 0. It's a tuple x dot index file. That's not the index that it should have been. Oh, I did that wrong. That should be values. Ah, good gravy. There we go. That's stupid. Stupid is as stupid does. We saw Forrest Gump earlier this evening on TV. Okay, so there we go. Now, okay, exercise the path where we unload the help index for user. And now what? Oh. Actually, this should probably be package info.package. The same as it said it was doing, which is different than what it got there. Okay, let's try that. That and this. Unloading help index for package, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Okay, that shouldn't have said for package in packages. It should have said if package in packages. That is the thing that was confusing me earlier. I think I might have redacted something dumb out of there. Okay. Do that. Unload that one. We just get the one. Now here, if I unload the help index for Snappy, I should get a bunch. Okay, that's good. And now if I was to browse available help, there's only those ones in there. And the other thing we added here was the ability to load indexes from packages. And if we passed it user, well, let's give it the list, let's say user, but nothing else. It loads that. If we unload help index for user, I really don't like the name of that thing. If we load index from packages user and Snappy, then we go from having only a little bit of help to having a bunch of help. Nice. Okay, now let's just clean this up a titch. Scan help packages, nothing there needs to change. So let's say, well, we were at the top there, right? Yeah, okay, so here we added this. Load help indexes from packages is physical package name, and that just uses that API. That's handy. So unload help indexes, let's say, from packages to indicate exactly what it's doing. And nothing is actually calling this yet, as I would imagine. Okay, so let's quit and restart to bring that in. Now, we are, whoops, at the new API endpoint for loading indexes from named physical package and from unloading. We had to do a little bit of bug fixing there. Now we look at watch ignored packages and drop/discover indexes as needed. For that, we are going to look at the actual HyperHelp package itself. And that's going to require a little bit of extra stuff. We are very close. Well, we're pretty much at our 2-hour time limit, but let's see what happens. So this is something we care about, and this is something we care about. So this is how we load them from a list of packages. And okay, both take strings or lists of strings of physical package names. Okay, well, actually, I probably should have done that, I suppose. Still sets it as Python, but that is cool. Discard that one, so just so that we don't have that annoying thing there. Now, with that out of the way, we're going to close, let's say, all of those for now. Close that. The next part of this is going to actually happen in the HyperHelp package. Now, here's the magic of how we're going to develop on this thing. Let's look at the files in here. That's the help for the thing we don't care. That's the resources, like the menus and stuff. Those we don't care. The bootstrap, this is the one that gets generated to keep the version of the package. So that we don't care about. Commands has the actual commands in this thing. And I assume I have a plugin loaded or a plugin unloaded somewhere in this bad boy. I mean, I could use the thing to check it, but I'm going to assume that it is in events because events.py is one of those things we care about. Okay, so this one is it has a plugin loaded. Perfect. Because we're going to need to add some logic to that. So the first thing we need to do is say open resource from HyperHelp. And we want to open events.py. And we're going to save it. Quit and quit. Now, there's now an override in place for that, and we can actually see that here. But the actual diff, were we to look at it, says there are no differences found. Now, here we're going to get an issue when I quit and restart. Based on that logic that we saw, the HyperHelp package is unpacked. This package should not be overridden as it blocks updates and causes problems with bootstrapping. Please remove the HyperHelp folder from the packages folder and restart Sublime. Okay. Now, we happen to know as the developer that there's a secret setting for that, but I happen to forget what it's called because I am that smart. But it is here in HyperHelp Core and Bootstrapper, I would imagine. Create bootloader, bootstrap package. Oh, it should, it's in this one, I think. HyperHelp allow unpacked. This should go in my user preferences. So I will pull that and say true. Now, for sure, the help system still works. It just, warns you that you're doing something grossly stupid. And the reason for that is now that this override is in place, if the package ever gets updated in the dependency and the dependency updates, it's going to bootstrap a new events.py, not going to get seen. One of the plugin files is going to be in place, the other ones aren't. We are monumentally unhappy if we're the support person. So see, it's now all happy about that, but we do need to BPF. Well, actually, yeah, we can do that. Waken VPF HyperHelp events.py like so, because that is going to pick up the one in our packages folder. We also want a def plugin unloaded, which happens when the plugin unloads. Now, we're also going to need a new window into which we look at override audit, and we'll pick that one, and I'll just maximize that for the time being. And listen, okay, let's do settings class because I can never remember. Oh, add-on changes and clear-on changes. So if I search for add-on changes, really? Oh, wait, did I have the thing set wrong? Huh. Oh, add-on change. Derp. I derped that one up real good. Okay. No, we don't want the settings part. We just want that part. Well, I mean, that might work. There's a couple of these. Untitled buffer. What's that? Oh, HyperHelp. Hey, interesting. Oops. We don't need that open. Surprised that that is the case. I would have thought it had a name. Anyway, we need to do some magic here. We need to cache the list of ignored packages. Now, I think this is a package file set, but I don't think that's special in any sense. It's just a mutable set that knows how to be case insensitive, realistically. It's part of that whole case sensitivity unhappiness thing that I mentioned earlier. So we need to do that, and we need to clear on changes when the thing goes away. So let's pull this file out to the other desktop, close this window, and I'll bring that one back in here. Now, this is what we're going to call, quote unquote, crude. So mutable set. Built-in types. Oh, do I got to import something special here? I should probably have checked how that worked in override audit, huh? All right. From collections. Okay, that's sort of what I thought. Close that window. I'm not even sure if that needs to be mutable, to be perfectly honest. We'll see what happens. So what do we need here in order for this to work? We need a list of the yeah. Cache self settings change. Let's go over this code and how it actually works, and then maybe I might do this myself after the fact because this might be a little too complicated to come up with in the short term. In general sense, auto report trigger is a singleton class for running an automated expired updates report whenever a package is removed from the ignored packages list. So when this class is created, which I mean, if we do that, there's just one up here created in plugin loaded. This is used to give the package info class the information that it needs to know to get the packages path and stuff. Okay, so when this is created, we keep the list of cached ignored files, which is the packages that are in there. And then we have an empty set for things that are removed. I think this is why it has to be mutable. And we say we want settings change to be triggered whenever those settings change. And then we do some stuff to load our status file and see if we need to do something. Now, when the settings change happens by anybody, we get invoked and it zoops over here to on settings change, which gets the new value of the setting into a new list, and if it's the same as the old one, it does nothing, but otherwise it figures out the list of things that are removed and the list of things that are added, updates its list of cached items, and then it can do stuff. Send a copy of the list so we can detect if the list changes in the interim. This actually triggers the report by knowing. Now, removed or equals removed, removed minus equals removed. That's something that I probably should have commented, right? Now, the other thing, of course, is if we look at where, whoops, where this triggers there, plugin unloaded calls unregister, and unregister says, please clear on changes so that we don't do something stupid. So let's actually go ahead and well, let's see what we can pull up here. And again, this is going to be, what we call crude. We want to see if it works and then make it better later. So trigger what we're going to do on here. We want to say cached ignored is equal to just a mutable set, right? That's safe enough to put in the top level. That's going to be like globally. And what we need to do here, okay, we'll say def enable watching and def disable watching. Just so we can see what's happening here. So the first thing we're going to do is enable watching there, and here in plugin unloaded, we're going to disable watching, right? Okay, so that's handy. When the plugin loads, start doing this stuff. When the plugin unloads, stop doing that stuff. And we need also a def setting changed, like so, which will have a trigger when that actually happens. Actually, we'll move this one down just so we can keep these nice. So here is what we need to do. Oh, we need to cache these settings objects, I think. Well, settings is equal to none. So when we enable watching, we say settings is equal to sublime.load settings preferences dot sublime. Whoa, fix it right. Dot sublime dash settings. That's going to load the settings file into our little thing. So we might need to say, I guess, global settings to make sure we know we're using that one. We get that settings, and then we say ignored is equal to settings dot get ignored packages, and if it's not specified, assume it's an empty list. And then we can say cache ignore. Now I think we don't need to global that one because we're changing the object it's referencing, we're not changing the reference itself. It's cache ignored. Oh, actually that's not how that was working, was it? I'm assuming that you can actually do that. Cache ignored dot add ignored, let's say. So let's say import collections x equals mutable set. Oh, you can't do that? Oh, balls. Oops, excuse me. Cannot instantiate abstract class mutable set with abstract methods. Oh, shit balls. And maybe that's part of why I implemented that. Okay, well, what if I just said that? X is a set. X dot add. Oh, thought it was a dict, did it? Well, well, let's just call that there then, because I don't think that's gonna work the way we want. Now, you know, the code in here is totally fiddling with our sets mutable. Let's search it up. Python r sets mutable. And oh, maybe I needed to. It's easier to detect. Yeah. So why or equals it. Okay, so yeah, we don't need to do that. I guess we can just say set in that case. Yeah. But I guess what we really want to know is x equals x or set or set. There we go. I knew I would remember it eventually. So that needs to be initialized to that. And then we say cache ignored or equals. Now that's not a thing, is it? Oh, it is a thing. Oh, cool. Or equals the set of ignored, like so. So that's going to enable our watching. We're going to, well, we're not done yet. Get a global settings object, which I don't think is strictly necessary, but it's going to make our life easier. Now that one needs to be global there so that we can fiddle that. Then get the list of ignored packages and do that. And as a matter of fact, maybe we might even make this quote unquote nicer by doing that. And redact that away. And then the last thing we need to do is add on change. And for that, we say settings dot add on change. We need to provide a key. HH settings watcher. Let's call that one. Now, the documentation says that's a key. That sometimes that makes you think that that's what you use to tell when that particular settings key changes. No, it's the key you use to be able to turn it off later. And we're going to lambda this, and the lambda is going to be setting changed. We'll just get told that the setting actually changed. Now, if we were told we wanted to disable watching, then what do we do here? We say settings dot clear on change HH settings watcher. And that's all we got to do there. And here we get told when a setting changes, which is this one. Don't do that. That particular quote unquote feature is one of those ones that, bugs me. Here we need to say this. New list is equal to the set of whatever the current list of packages already is. And then we can say removed equals cached ignored minus new list, and added is equal to the new list, but not the cached ignored. And then self-removed or equals, so that was a set that said that if something was removed, and that was, add in things that were removed, but remove the things that were recently added to come up with some stuff. So let's just go ahead and print here. Package remove, packages removed, and that is removed, and print packages added. This is how we debug this stuff. And save that, quit. Come on in. Local variable cache ignored referenced before assignment. Crap. How is that happening? In line 298 in on API ready in line 104 in enable watching. Oh, I guess you do need it to be? Okay. I thought it just automatically looked up into the other scope, but you know, I'm willing to cram a bunch of stuff in some places for the purposes of hacky testing. The magic of that is it totally happens right away now because this is the package and not the other thing. So if I was to disable a package and the package I disabled was, say, ActionScript, then we get packages removed, added ActionScript. Whoa. Removed an empty set, added ActionScript, removed an empty set, added ActionScript, removed an empty set, added ActionScript. Okay, I think that is the result of each of those settings things doing something funky for us here. So let's do that. Why is that getting called multiple times is the interesting thing. Oh, actually, I guess that would be the case, wouldn't it? Every time that setting changed, well, no, I'm not sure that's technically correct. Enable package ActionScript. Packages removed from the list is ActionScript, but added was nothing. Then it removed ActionScript, added nothing, removed ActionScript, added nothing. I think that might have been why this thing over here had its own little list of stuff. So self.removed was just an empty set. So let's see if that was what I did here, because it has been a while. Removed is an empty set, and we're going to go ahead and global underscore removed. I mean, it doesn't need to be in every one, but again, this should be that nice class like what we have right there. Let's throw one in, that one too. Okay, so when you enable watching, removed is just an empty set. As a matter of fact, maybe we'll go ahead and set this to just to replicate what we got here. And then we really got to jump out of this stream because it is going on longer than it needs to. So we load the settings. We set up the list of cached ignored files to be the current setting there. And then we say removed is equal to a set of stuff. That's cached, ignored, removed, and settings all being given a value. We add on change for that when it happens. And when we unregister, we just do clear on change, and we don't care about anything else because the next time we enable watching, we'll reset those values. And then when setting changed happens, we get a new list, which is the set of all of the ones that are currently in the list. Oh, here's the thing that is magic here too. If new list is equal to the existing cache ignored, then just leave, because this does happen for a lot of every setting. So we don't need to continue if the list of this setting is the same as it was before. And then removed is ignored minus new list. Added is equal to new list minus ignored. Here's the thing I forgot to do. Cache ignored is equal to the new list so that we actually track that thing. That might make all the difference right there. So let's just test that and see. I can't believe I forgot that. Now, none type and set. That is line 86, which is, oh, I don't want to or equals it. I just want to equals it, like so. Okay. Now I'm going to quit that and restart. Because plugin loaded and plugin unloaded in this particular case, when you're doing a lot of restarts, may or may not do exactly what you want. Okay, so now I'm going to enable a package. No, I'm going to disable a package, and the package I'm going to disable is ActionScript. And the ActionScript package was added to the list of ignored packages. Right now, if I was to open the core settings and save this file, it says it's reloading, but nothing happens there. And I'm going to bring this over to this other desktop here. And just for our own edification, I am going to manually add to the list of ignored packages the package HTML. And as soon as I do so, do we get told? Yes, we get told that the list of packages added to the list is HTML. Now that's only this time. Theoretically, we would have, done some magic work there. Now, if I take both of these two out, we should see removed ActionScript and HTML. So that is sort of what we want to see. Now, we actually don't need. I think the reason the reason we did that, I remember now, is we wait a little bit to see if we should actually do the thing or not. So that if the list changes on a second by second basis, if more than one package comes out, it sort of debounces. So we're not going to worry about that for right now. So let's say there. Those are all of them. Expand those out to, honestly, does that key not do what I think it does? There. So let's quit that, restart that. We're getting some errors in that one, which is what we expect. So now here's the thing. Packages removed from the list should have these called. So we're going to need to pull these out of here. And I guess it would have behooved me to remember in core.py. Okay, from HyperHelp core.core import. Are they both from there? Probably. Yeah. So that's happening now. For, you know what, let's even do this. That's not already in here, huh? Yeah, okay, then we'll leave well enough alone with that one. We'll just use print. And print, just so we can see stuff happening here, print enabling HH settings watch. And down here, we'll say we are disabling it, just so we can watch that happening. And now it says it's disabling and enabling. Okay, good, good, good. Now, down here in settings change, the list of packages that are removed for package in removed, we want to say load indexes from packages. Oh, actually, we don't even need to say that, do we? We can just say load indexes from packages list removed. That should do what we want. And okay, so let's say no. And we want to, well, we'll unload first. Unload help indexes from packages, and the packages are ones that are added to the list. Okay, save that. That seems to be okay. Now let's do it from a completely fresh perspective. And we have enabled the HH settings watch. This is warning us that it's unpacked, but we set the settings so it's not popping the dialog. Now I'm going to clear the console. Now we're going to see we have as available help that. So if I was to disable package, and the package I wanted to disable was HyperHelp author, let's see what happens. Ignored packages updated to that. Unloading help index for package HyperHelp author cannot demand load package indexes. No packages provided. Okay, so let's re-enable. Should do the same thing in that one, right? Cannot demand unload. No packages provided. Oh, I guess if added, that's probably something. Now, if I said x was equal to a set and x or, oh, sorry. If I said x was equal to a set containing first and second, like so, and if you did x, that appears to be a nice set. And if I said list x, you get a list. And if x is equal to a set, then list x is an empty list. So these are things that were added to the list of ignored packages. And for our purposes, we'll list added there. And for here, we'll do removed and removed and that. And again, fresh restart to make sure everything is on the up and up from a fresh perspective. Clear the console. Let's see what we did wrong. This will hopefully tell us. Unloading help index for package HyperHelp author. Okay, because we added HyperHelp author to the list. I think the log message is perhaps incorrect there. So now if I browse available help, HyperHelp author isn't in the list because I ignored it. Excellent. But now if I was to enable a package and I enabled HyperHelp author, then what do we see having happened? Ignored packages updated to that, removed HyperHelp author, reloading plugin. I don't see it having reloaded that, but it did say removed HyperHelp author. Oh, you know what? I think we just hit that that problem that I was mentioning. It's not there. We saw it say it removed HyperHelp author, like so. So it definitely called this with the list, but we didn't see it actually saying it loaded it, right? So if I copy that, if I do this enough, eventually I'll hit something. Load indexes from packages. Yeah, we want this one. Can I import name unload help index? Well, let's just say we want that one. If I said load indexes from packages and provided that, and spelled it right, it says it loaded it and it's here. So the problem is that this needs to debounce a little bit. So here's what we're going to do. Sublime.set timeout and the delay afterwards. Okay, so the timeout is going to be lambda unload help indexes from there after 2 seconds, let's say. Similarly, now if I save that, does it work? Yes, okay. Here we want this to be there, and the lambda is going to happen after 2 seconds. This is the hacky way to do it, but this will be a proof of concept. So again, let's do that from one quick thing, and we're going to call it after this because I've gone over 2.5 hours here. You know how I cannot leave a problem alone. So if I say, now let's actually clear the console like so. Okay, I'm going to disable a package, and I'm going to disable the HyperHelp author package. And let's see, added, ignored packages updated to that. It added HyperHelp author. It unloaded the plugin. It reloaded some settings. And then it said a little bit later, unloading help index for package HyperHelp author, like so. Now, technically, we don't need to add the delay on the removal because if the index was already loaded, we don't need to. We'll see the reason for that in a second. Now, I'm going to enable this. I'm going to enable HyperHelp author. Oh, actually, first I'll clear the console again just so we can see it. And now it says it's loading help index from package HyperHelp author, and the help is back. Thus, now, what's happening here? What's happening here is when a package is added to the list of ignored packages, or when the package is removed from the list. Basically, anytime a new resource file appears somewhere in the packages folder, there is a non-zero delay between when that file appears and when Sublime itself notices by way of a background async thread or maybe the main thread. I don't think we ever fully determined that resource is there. And before that point, when you call load resources, you don't find it at all because Sublime hasn't found it, and Sublime load resources or Sublime find resources both rely on the cached information in Sublime. It doesn't just go look when you ask it, it assumes it already knows. This is something I encountered in the HyperHelp author package, which is why I added fallback loading so that you can create a new help file and then immediately open it by it. It tries to use load resource, and if that fails, it opens the file manually from the local package folder. The same thing is happening here. When we add HyperHelp author to the list of things that are going away, no resources matter for us. We specifically said, look at all of your help packages, any of them that are from this physical package, just throw the information away. That always works. When you add the package, when you remove the package from the list of ignored settings, then Sublime has to re-index that package to see what files are there because they might have changed since it went in the ignored list if it was in the same session, which it doesn't necessarily have to be. And there needs to be a delay between that and when we say, please load that help index because it needs to um, be able to scan those resources and find them, right? So that's why we have set this part up here to have a little bit of a delay, 2-second delay here. And this may also have played into how I did that in override audit. But I think what I was doing was assuming that I was hedging my bets at the time that if package control updates multiple packages, does it add them one at a time and remove them one at a time, or does it go all in, undo them all first and then drop them out? And I couldn't remember which way it went, so that's why I think I added that there. But after only 40 minutes of extra stuff, which again, ironically, is time spent at the beginning talking about how we're doing things. But I really like that format personally of showing why we're doing something and then how we do something. So you can see the logic involved there. We've solved that problem that I pointed out at the beginning. Now, with this code in place, this would work the way we expect if we installed Snappy and then installed HyperHelp Author. It would notice that HyperHelp Author was there, like it just did when package control installed it and removed it from the list of ignored packages. I guess one thing we could check here again, and we'll just go ahead and clear the console, is what happens if I disable a package like, say, ASP that doesn't have any help. And we can see our message saying it added it, but nothing happened. And that's because the code in the stuff that we just wrote, it didn't find anything. So it just, it didn't find anything to remove. And if we were to enable a package like, say, ASP, for example, the same thing happens there. And we can even see override audit doing the same sort of check we're doing here. So that is going to do it for this. I'm going to clean up this code and work on, committing it and what for. Maybe I'll even push a release up. I'm not sure. For now, I need to get to bed because I have a early morning meeting and life is going to be sad as a result of it. But the weather is improving, so there is that. And with this, I shall say thank you so much for watching. Remember to thumb the video if you liked it. Subscribe to see the next live stream, which will happen next Sunday. Same Sublime time, same Sublime station. Probably working on more HyperHelp code because I don't want to work on any new features in Sublime in Override Audit 2 until I release it and I'm not done doing my internal testing to make sure that it's as best as I can determine, not going to blow up in anybody's face. If you had any questions about what we did here or why, if I went too fast, if you want more details, if there's any other Sublime Text programming questions you'd like me to cover, I can totally give that a try. Just drop a message in the comment section below or send me a message on Twitter at OdatNurd. And until next Sunday, remember to stay sublime.